atmosphere in here, but we are all part of the same community, so let's please keep this tactful. I will recognize petitioners at this time.
Well, I'll start. Wilbur Brown, town of Oneonta, 1 Blanchard Avenue.
I was recognizing Teresa.
Thank you. My name is Terusha, and I'm here tonight as the applicant behind the project, but most importantly as a woman, a minority, and a professional who has faced hostility, misinformation, and prejudice throughout this process. At the very first town board meeting I attended, I was subject to a direct public threat made by Jim Hurtubise. That moment was not only inappropriate, it was frightening. No person, regardless of background or profession, should ever fear for their safety while participating in a lawful and transparent community process. That incident has stayed with me, and it has made me question how welcoming this community truly is to anyone who looks different, thinks different, and brings new ideas. My right to feel safe while participating in a lawful public process is non-negotiable and must be protected by this board. Since that night, I have received a number of racist, hateful, and threatening messages through my company's website. These messages are not only about my project's facts or scope, they're about me, about my skin color, my ethnicity, and who I am, such as "go back to your country," "enjoy this" during a meeting, "this town doesn't want you," "go the hell and stay out of Oneonta, New York." These words were cruel and dehumanizing. I have documented every single one of these messages and have already begun the process of sharing them with local and federal law enforcement. It is heartbreaking to experience this kind of hate in 2025. What should have been a discussion about zoning and progress has instead become a platform for racism and personal attacks. This is unacceptable, and it reflects far more than the individual spreading this hate than it ever will on me. Throughout this process, I have watched my project be misrepresented and distorted by those who refuse to understand it. It has been repeatedly and falsely labeled as a data center. That label is not only inaccurate, it is misleading and irresponsible. This is not a commercial data center. It is a research and development initiative that integrates AI technology with sustainable agriculture using hydroponics and renewable heat reuse to make farming more viable and economically responsible. At the 2013 August 13th, 2025 meeting, a woman stood here and said, I quote, "Yes, I spent a little time looking at Oneonta company, analyzing it, which is my background. I specialize in analyzing companies for 4 years, and what I found is that it's a subsidiary of a company based in Mumbai, India, that has a 600-acre data center operation near Mumbai and another one in Delhi. That statement is completely false. Oneonta is not a subsidiary of a foreign company, and there is no connection whatsoever to any operation in Mumbai or Delhi. For someone claiming professional expertise in analyzing companies, this level of willful fabrication is not just an error, it is disqualifying and should be alarming to anyone who values truth and credibility. It is a clear demonstration of an intent to mislead the public. And yet, such inaccuracies have been allowed to circulate freely, shaping public perception based on rumor rather than fact. Before I close, I want to make a broader point, one that extends beyond the specific project. When someone seeks or holds any position of public leadership, there is an obligation to speak from a place of truth, integrity, and responsibility. Public statements, especially about projects or issues that impact a community, should be based on facts, not personal interpretation or political convenience. Leaders should educate, not incite. They should clarify, not confuse, and they should never use their platform to spread fear for personal or political gain. When individuals who aspire to lead a town contribute to misinformation, they don't just mislead, they divide. And division is the very opposite of leadership. In closing, I would like to say this. I came to Oneonta with good intentions to build something forward-thinking, rooted in education, sustainability, and collaboration. I have shown transparency at every stage, opened my doors, shared my plans, and welcomed dialogue. What I did not expect was to be met with threats, hate, and prejudice. Yet I am still here because I believe in truth, fairness, and progress grounded in integrity. I ask this board and everyone listening tonight to rise above fear and misinformation, look at the facts, and ask yourself if you want to be remembered as a community that registered innovation, that resisted innovation and allowed harassment, or one that had the courage to uphold integrity and embrace a future grounded in facts. And I'm submitting this to you so that the minutes are reflected accurately. They don't just mislead, they divide. And division is the very opposite.
First, I do want to recognize.
In closing, I would like to say this.
Being brave and sharing that, and
I think
also I do condemn
intentions.
any hate or violence against any person of color or women or gender violence at all. And so I don't ask that you do that at all. And me being a person of color, I can understand some of the ways that she may feel as well, and do not condone that. So please make sure that the message that is going to everyone in your homes at the end of the meeting. So tonight I'm asking the board to reject the PD rezoning, publish the full application, and adopt a short moratorium while the code is being reviewed in public. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge the board. You have a difficult job. You balance family, work, and the responsibility of representing your neighbors. I want to thank you for being here and ask everyone in attendance to remember that we're all part of this community. We all care deeply about Oneonta, and that shared love should guide how we speak to each other tonight. Now, I came here with no information about this application beyond what was posted on the town agenda and a social media post from someone with direct knowledge. That alone should concern everyone in this room. We ask about facts, but we do not know what the facts are. The proposal by Oneonta has undergone 2 changes, and now a data center from a data center to an AI research facility, and now we will learn what is next. But despite all the rebranding, one thing hasn't changed. They're asking to rezone 150 acres of residential and agricultural land into a PDD, giving themselves the keys to expand if they choose. Data centers consume a substantial amount of energy. A medium-sized OpenAI data center uses electricity to power enough 400 homes. And when that much power is drawn, it doesn't come without cost. Someone pays, and it's never the developer, it's the people. When a proposed use isn't allowed, there's a process for that to go to the zoning board of appeals. But rezoning land parcel by parcel based on what one developer wants is spot zoning, and that is illegal in New York. I have asked for a moratorium on projects like this to ensure that the community is protected. While the code is reviewed, updated, and brought forward for public comment, that's the only responsible path forward. People are anxious because they've watched this proposal shift and grow with limited public information. And if you do a simple Google search, you'll find investigative reports and research from across the country showing the environmental and financial harm data centers are causing. We've read quotes from neighbors in towns just like ours who are struggling to afford power, facing water shortages, and watching their quality of life erode with no way out. I understand we're weeks away from an election, and I know how tempting it can be to wait or to rush a decision until after. I'm asking you to do neither. Publish the full materials and adopt a short moratorium immediately. I support smart, transparent growth that builds opportunity without sacrificing who we are, but this isn't that. Please put politics aside, lead with care, and put the people of Oneonta first. Once our water is gone and our trust is broken, we can't get either back. Our town runs and deserves honesty, not empty promises.
Is there anyone else that has anything for the good order?
So 2 things. The first thing, I just want to give an update on the Climate Smart. I'm so sick. Climate Smart Community Task Force, and we are going forward with another action that documents heat pump installation in the town, and I believe that we are actually going to complete that fairly soon, which will qualify the town for hopefully more grant money. And then the second thing, I just wanted to weigh in as well on the project on the old Lucens land, as well as the rezoning down by the farmhouse. You know, and I feel, especially the land that was Marie Lucens, I can't tell you the name of the address, but that's residential agricultural land, zoned residential agricultural land. And when someone buys it knowing that with a plan that involves rezoning, I mean, it just shouldn't be. There's so much industrial property in this land, in this town, that if you want to build a project that requires an industrial or a PDD, go buy the land in that area. Don't take beautiful agricultural residential land and seek to change the zone and take that out of a livable area for families. So, that's just my statement.
Just an update to you, the installation was completed, so that's, thank you to Climate Smart,
Yeah.
the town hall has been spray foam. And the solar panels you have, got installed are now 5.6 watts,
awesome.
which is significantly higher than expected. So it's over before, which is great.
And just so everybody knows, that that's no cost to the taxpayers. That's grant money. So the board approved that, and so they're generating electricity without taxpayers being charged. So 2 things. The first thing,
Yeah, Patricia Jacob was on the town board for 8 years, and you've always tried to protect our quality of life here in the town of Oneonta. And I'm grateful for your legacy, and I'm doing my best to
it's a
continue.
group effort.
Group effort.
Thank
And
you.
also, I want to thank Pat mentioned heat pumps. If you've installed a heat pump or plan to in 2025, if you let us know, we're earning points to get additional grant money by that action. So you just really need to tell us that you did. We won't disclose your name or anything like that, but we just need to have your information. That you did it, and you were a contractor, right?
Contractors, no names.
So,
No names, no addresses.
okay,
Doesn't invade
You can
anyone's
get that
privacy.
information from
check.
check their buildings.
Yeah, and we have a thing up on the website so people can just send us, all we need is zip code, date of installation. That is all free.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak from the order? In the back, please.
Hello, my name is Eamon Hinchy. I live at 295 Edmonds Road. I wrote a letter that was going to be submitted. I had to be able to get here. I'm going to read my letter. Usually I shoot from the top. Anyway, to the members of the on board, Oneonta town, let me know that I'm a super strong supporter of a gas station in Edmonds. I believe it is needed and it serve our community well. However, I'm very concerned about the location for the old farmhouse. That's under consideration. I think to move forward with this zoning would be requiring the demolishing of a potential house, and it would also create a new traffic light, one that would really disturb, especially my roads, I think it would really clog up that area. All of this is being proposed without fully exploring the possibility of placing that same gas station across the road in an existing plaza that has 4 parcels already appropriately zoned. I just did a little bit of research. I contacted Jeff Feinberg, who does the leasing for Pipe Shopper, and he told me that there was an obstacle in the past, that Pipe Shopper had a non-compete clause, and so I followed that further to the Golub Corporation in Schenectady, who owns Pipe Shopper, and they told me that this past practice of running competition is a little bit more relaxed under new leadership, and that, this roadblock might not exist anymore, and it probably, we should consider that. It would be unreasonable and irresponsible to allow rezoning for a gas station without first ruling out the possibility of locating the very same one across the street on land already zoned for commercial use with an existing traffic light and existing parking lots. Finally, I want to remind the board that the original owners of the Emmons farm did always intend to keep the separation of the northern parcels as well for residential and the southern parcels for commercial use. It was a special little deed actually to change it for a restaurant, and the idea was that if that restaurant went away, it would go back to residential housing, and rezoning would really disregard that legacy. In closing, again, not opposed to a gas station. I could really utilize a gas station. I welcome it, but I urge the board to not approve this rezoning. Respectfully, David Mitchell.
Thank you. Anyone else? In the back.
I have a question. I just wanted to also comment on, looking at Future Yoga, I don't know a lot of information about it because there's a website that was registered not even a year ago. It would explain anything other than sustainable solutions for a green future, the contact form, and ads for photos. So I'm a little skeptical of who this company is and what their intentions are. Because it really isn't any information. So who the company, our town comes up in this discussion. So there really is not a lot of information. So I'm going to go ahead with the assumption that whether it's supposedly for research or agriculture, that this is going to be a large facility with servers and it came for that. So going off of that assumption, I'd like to ask you all today to place a temporary moratorium on any approach for data centers of such structures, and take the time to really consider all the potential harm it can do to our community. Many towns, like ours, have seen devastating environmental and economic impacts on their communities, and I encourage you to do your own research. I'm sure you'll find countless stories of rising electric bills, water shortages, and illness from pollution. I'm sure many of our fellow community members will speak at length about all the ways that a data center will directly impact our daily lives, as they should. But I'd also like to address my concern with our town supporting a largely unregulated technology that has caused irreparable harm all over the planet. AI has the power to influence elections, convince people to commit suicide, generate images depicting child sexual abuse, and create convincing replicas of your loved ones in order to scam them. The technology is deeply flawed and dangerous. The misuse of AI poses a serious threat to democracy. An estimated 38 countries have experienced election-related deepfake incidents, including the U.S. AI bots and realistic deepfakes of politicians to spread misinformation and divide and disable countries are all over the internet. AI has also harmed children. OpenAI claims that if someone expresses suicidal intent, ChatGPT is trained to direct people to seek professional help. But despite that protocol, the chatbot mentioned suicide to 16-year-old Adam Rain 1,275 times before he took his own life in April of this year. It provided specific methods on how to prevent suicide. And when Adam told ChatGPT that his parents would blame him at the end of his life, it responded, "That doesn't mean you owe them so privately." This is a chatbot that said this to his child. The Internet Watch Foundation reported over 20,000 AI-generated images of child sexual abuse material posted in 1 month period on the dark web. That was from a report in 2020, before this technology was even more widely accessible as it is today. And predators use these tools to create incredibly realistic deepfakes, often with the face or likeness of real children. All of these tools used to create these images can be legally downloaded and produced offline without protection. And I share all of this, not as some Luddite who's against technology change. I've always been an early adopter of technology, and the internet as against technology is not inherently good or bad, but a tool for use. But I mention this stories because AI is clearly proving to be a tool that is beyond our control. No one seems to be able to stop any of this because it's backed by tech giants like Google, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft. And if no one can stop election tampering, teen suicide, child pornography, and scammers from abusing this technology, then who is going to stop them from polluting our city and ruining our lives? What makes you believe any of these corporations have our best interests in mind and won't lie to us, hide who they are, and cover up the harm that they do to our community? I don't know how to sit with the idea that our town would be contributing to all of this if we allow data centers to be built here. But it's very easy to be overwhelmed by the enormity of all of these issues and the moral, legal, and philosophical implications. It's easy to feel too small to matter. But the very fact that someone wants to open up something like this in our town means we do matter and we do have an impact. And I'm inspired by stories of other small towns like ours blocking data centers. Our government may not be able to regulate this technology, but we can do our part.
Can you please finish?
Sorry?
Can you please finish your about a minute over?
Oh, sure. I just want to say, please don't allow this or any nonsense to Oneonta. Let your legacy be that you protect this community. Otherwise, we never know a day of peace for someone's sake. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this gentleman here was.
Thank you. I'm Jeffrey Feinberg. Mr. Hitch referred to me. I represent the JWI of Oneonta, which is where the Price Chopper Plaza is. And we have tried for many years to put a C-store there with gas. And we've had a number of excellent companies that have wanted to go there. And he's not wrong that historically, Price Chopper we have a lease restriction on places that sell food. So, if it's going to be across the street in the residential area, it would behoove Price Chopper to rethink their position. I only found out about this yesterday. Why did it take so long? Because I don't pay the taxes. Price Chopper pays the taxes. So when they look at the tax bill, it goes to Emmons Farms representative. He failed to mail it to me so that I would have some notice on this. He didn't do it intentionally, it was an innocent mistake. I've spoken with him, he was a gentleman, and he said, I'm really sorry, otherwise, I would have come to the first meeting. In the instant case, what I would ask the board to do is just to defer the decision. Let me go to Price Chopper, I've spoken with them, and it's true. They have new leadership, they combined with Tops, and now and Tops has C-stores on gas at other locations where they're located. Consequently, it's not a far stretch that we can get one here. If the decision, I think, I would submit would be simple. If we're gonna be across the street, and if we're zoned to have it at our property, and the traffic light is there, let us go, let me talk to them. In fact, I was up there today, and I said I was gonna come to the meeting this evening, and that I would explain, I apologize for being late to the party, but that was because I didn't get notice. So, I wanna say to you, with all due respect, I know this may be controversial, I'm not part of it, and the other things, I'm looking here, we wanna drive business into the Price Chopper Plaza. And I'd like to say that we've been a good corporate citizen. If you look at our shopping center, if you look at the blacktop, we take care of our properties, we paid our taxes for over 20 years. Consequently, I would respectfully ask him, I don't wanna hurt the town, I wanna help the town. And I have nothing against the other applicant. He's very successful, and I've met him before, he's always gracious to me, very nice. As I say, I just found out about it, so if you could find it within yourself to let us have an opportunity to bring a C-store with gas to the community, and we'll jump right on it. That's all I can say, that's the best thing I can say. So look, and if they're gonna be there, it would be best, my humble opinion, to go where it's already zoned and let the other people live the fight another day or find another tenant. And thank you. Anyways, that's my thought, and I thank you for allowing me to come. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Feinberg, would it have to be a C-store only, or would a store be acceptable to Price Chopper?
Well, they're mostly interested in many years, strike that. They were mostly focused on not having a duplicative service that would, if they're serving the product in their current store, it makes sense. Why do we want to have something that they could get it elsewhere on our property? So, and now with, everything changes. Years ago, the communities didn't want digital signs. I'm not saying you want them here, but other places like in Vestal, they never wanted them, and now you see them all over. So business is a living, breathing organism. Times change, different facts. In the instant case, we can don't pay the tax. I submit, there's a high likelihood that we can provide, look at the tax bill, whatever gas insert in a C-store conveniences, that's what it's, on our site. And we failed. So I'm not trying to hurt anybody, I just wanna, if you could throw us a buoy rather than an anchor right now, that would be very helpful. So I hope you really find it within yourselves to at least step back, think, let us reason, let us bring something. And if I can't deliver to you, I certainly have no desire to hurt anybody. And the idea of having that service gas at that end, it makes sense to me. So, at any rate, thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Teresa, that's very interesting that you bring that up. I'm so glad you attended, because you know, what is the best long-term solution for the town? And that segues into my pre-written statement. This town is at a critical juncture, and this board has a chance to make a difference. Would you please look at revising the comprehensive plan and zoning laws within the coming year? Thank you for your consideration on this important issue. Because, like you say, things change over time. Not just businesses, towns. Thinking evolves over time. So, and a comprehensive plan was last happened in 2014. Everything's coming to a head. I know you guys feel it. You guys have been on the board a long time. I've been coming to meetings for over about a decade and a half. Now's the time to really find out what the citizens want and to move forward with everybody's input on the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Yeah, I have a statement that I haven't prepared, but there's just a couple of thoughts I want to make about.
Please state your name
For my name is Inconvenience, and I've been a resident of Oneonta for about 3 years now. Yeah, so I work in an industry very adjacent to AI and data centers and kind of building this out, and I'm very familiar with what the requirements are for building this, and I want to kind of like bring up a few points of like what the positives may be for the town and what the negatives may be. So we're currently in a situation where economists have called it like an AI bubble, and I kind of think that, like, you know, if we're looking at it, companies like NVIDIA have a higher market share in terms of like how big the market of NVIDIA is than every pharmaceutical company combined. That should ring alarm bells. It's like, that doesn't make sense, right? So we might be in a bubble, and if we are in a bubble, there's a very high chance that any data center like this that is built out now is going to get abandoned. And I think this town has experience with it of trying to get the original workers on the building to go clean up. It's just impossible. It's like years of lawsuits. Ends up calling on to the town to end up like going and, you know, getting rid of the data center that was built there in 2025, 2026. So that's one of the risks. The other thing is, like, I've seen people bring up like water pollution and light pollution, but not a lot of noise pollution. And if you look at what happened in Granbury, Texas, they're currently suing the government there, mainly because the crypto data centers have created a hum of about 60 to 70 decibels just across the town. You just constantly hear it. It's driving people really insane. And that's like a thing that these kind of machines produce. They produce a lot of heat, and they produce, for their cooling, they have to make a lot of noise. And in a residential area, that's not going to be great for the residents of the area. So the other thing is, from a positive side, you might say data centers might increase money from a taxation perspective or might create jobs. They really don't create any jobs. Like, that is the one thing that I want to make clear. A lot of data center operations are done with 1 or 2 people, at most like 10 to 20 people. This is not like a big job created for how much work you need to kind of, how much material you need to put in, how much capital you need to put in. The other final thing I want to say is that, like, we brought up, for example, electrification of our homes with heat pumps, with electric vehicles. These are all going to put increasing load on the grid that we have here. If you were on Otsego Co-op electricity provider last winter, you might have seen that, like, the bill suddenly went up because the electricity usage went beyond what they had imagined. The thing is, electricity usage on one side, we are running on wires and cables made for electricity probably like 15, 20 years ago. They're not really designed for the load that data centers are going to need to take today. So it's not just the cost of the data center, it's also, we're going to be the ones footing the bill to get those grids to be built out way over provision because of these like use cases that may or may not last, you know, 2 years. So the last final point I really want to make here is data centers use electricity very weirdly. This is going to get a little technical, but it's, if you think about it, the engine turns on and starts slowly getting, you know, warming up in the winter. We probably all do that. We turn on the car, we wait a little bit for the car to warm up. In data centers, electricity usage is on or off, which means when these machines are doing inference, which basically means providing the what like the ChatGPT interface is, when it's doing that, when it's working on that, it suddenly turns off and causes a big drop in electricity. Like the power we're seeing here was generated literally seconds ago in a power plant while we're using this. So that power plant now needs to suddenly match up and down the generation, which means they're going to have to start using fossil fuels and not clean energy, which is generally cheaper at this point, which is going to, again, drive up our costs. This has actually caused some outages across the country because of data centers that do this. And companies, large companies like Amazon, AWS, they do a little bit more of a socially responsible thing of putting spinning wheels to effectively not cause that load to show up on the grid. I don't really think organizations that really, you can't even Google anything about them, are going to go do that due diligence. So I would say that I would want the town to block this proposal, and if there is a desire to allow this proposal into the future, to work with folks who are aware of like what needs to happen to make this safe and make this doable and reduce the impact on people, which in this case probably means don't build near residential area, build an existing commercial field. Thank you.
We have two people. Start with you in the front.
My name is Emily Georgia Smith, and I live right by Cooperstown Junction with more members of my family there. And recently, I guess 2.5 years ago, purchased a home, and this is where we're hopefully going to be living for dozens of years to come. This is where we're looking to build our future. So I find it deeply troubling to hear about the AI data center that was planning on being built, because we are not unique as a small town that could potentially be facing very negative ramifications in the name of progress. But fortunately, because we are not unique, this kind of gives us a clear picture of what to expect from this project. Many of concerns coming from people today, which includes pollution, 20 to 80% higher electrical bills, massive water consumption. I am also very concerned that this proposal lacks concrete measures to prevent future expansion. The initial proposal, I believe, was for like a 200,000 square foot building built on 153 acres purchased from West Oneonta. But now the applicant wants to operate on what sounds like a hobbyist scale, something called research and development scale. And I'm concerned that the applicants want to get the rezoning passed, so in the future it would be incredibly easy to push through expansion. Because no one operates data centers for a hobby. They are incredibly expensive to create and have potential to be incredibly profitable. And those profits aren't going to come to our town. It's an extractive model. The current trajectory is increasing demand for data centers. Let's look up anywhere online. In North Carolina, every single small town is looking at the repercussions of facing a data center near them. And in Memphis, people are being poisoned. If you look at More Perfect Union's video, it's called Wasteland, and there are people who are developing respiratory issues because of the data center near them. I also want to talk about employment, which other people have, but there are actually very few people who are employed even in these large-scale data centers. And this brings me to the fact, because there are few jobs, it doesn't also make sense that this would provide an excellent educational opportunities for students here at Oneonta and Hartwick. Furthermore, those universities are liberal arts education institutions. And the jobs on an AI data center, I can imagine, are for technicians. So it just doesn't feel like that would be a great fit for these schools. And if there's, 12 to 20 people working there, it just also I don't know if that adds up. As a final note, I know there's been some positive talking points going spread around by the Chamber of Commerce, and I would just point out that they are basically paid business advocates. They're not partial. They do not speak to the concern of the community. They are essentially lobbying. And I think other people spoke to the pollution, the water use, and there's often tax carves out. If they're flooding tax money back into Oneonta, maybe this would be something considered, but oftentimes that is not the reality of these data centers. And I, want to have a place that's healthy and that's growing, and I don't want to have a child with cancer within the next 10 years. So this is, I do find it deeply concerning. I have been doing a lot of research on data centers, and I have not been turning up very good statistics. So I would strongly recommend pausing, stopping, and having more conversations about how to do this, or not doing this, or like have more voices in the room about, the right way to do things. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer White. I live at 102 Baker Hill Road. I do have concerns about the environmental impact of data centers, but I actually wanted to speak about something different. So I live right over here. We've had many road safety issues over the last few years, which actually, if you see the unfinished garage, it's because we had to redo our house because of these issues. And the town board's been very, very helpful with that, and I do appreciate that. With the expansion of the baseball camps as well, and the possible rezoning of the data center where it could possibly be expanded later on, I'm concerned that we don't have the infrastructure to support that. And I have a young child at home, and I can tell you during the summer, it's pretty, like, we always have to kind of be on our guard, just to plan road safety, things like that. So that is something that I would ask. I think that, I would just ask the town to consider just pausing and researching, before we go on, just so we can make sure we have the infrastructure support. I also want to say I am a strong supporter of business in the community. I've been a business owner. My family are business owners, so I also understand the need to, that things change. But I will just ask that the town look to make sure that we support the infrastructure. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, we have a couple more comments. I see two people, and then we're gonna move on. We do have several presentations tonight. We do have a privilege of the floor at the end of the meeting as well. We do have town business we do have to conduct in the meanwhile. So there were two people, a gentleman here and a lady here.
So I can keep mine short. You go ahead.
Okay. Pete Shore, I live on Hell Road, it's just outside the town line, but the representative that spoke earlier, and I'm sorry there were so many abhorrent remarks made, that's not relevant to the issue here. But I've been in agriculture for most of my life, and when you mentioned hydroponics and agricultural research, a couple things came to mind. First of all, Cornell University is one of the most prestigious agricultural research centers, so I would think that some sort of interaction should occur there, and I'd like to know more about that. Secondly, hydroponics is an intensive agriculture, just like a feedlot or intensive dairy operations. To use the word sustainable there is maybe used for selling the idea, but there is no such thing as a sustainable agriculture. Some are more sustainable than others, but initially starting a large hydroponic operation, you're going to deal with some waste products, water issues, electricity, and so forth. So if that's where we're going with this, that sets up a whole new set of issues that I think should be considered. Other than that, I do think the one last point is that some of the misinformation, I think, came from, to be honest, the lack of information out there. When you do computer searches trying to find out about this company, you are led to subsidiary websites and so forth. So if there's any fault here, perhaps it's lack of visibility. If you want a good open forum discussion with the public, be honest and open about it right up front. So thank you.
You go ahead and Kate, you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be sure. Oh, you're going.
Please go.
My name is Erica Erickson. I've been in Oneonta and other bedroom communities in the area for the last 2 decades. I won't belabor the points that others have made about the power demand and grid strain that data centers require, the noise, the emissions, heat, microclimate concerns that others have discussed, not to mention the fragmented ecosystems or the certainly impacted wildlife corridors, both by data centers and agriculture. Or that property values will certainly decline if we rezone in this residential area. And then there's not strong planning for this. What happens if this company folds or decides to relocate? Then we, as a community, run the risk of stranded assets and a burden on the municipality if the project fails or declines. The developer has tried to rebrand the same project over and over, asking to be rezoned, but it's the same idea, turning rural, residential, agricultural land into an industrial site, maybe at a small scale now, but it does open the back door. The label does not change the impact, and approving this rezoning would tell every developer watching that our town's rules are flexible if you push hard enough. That's not how trust or good governance works. The community has said no before, we've heard the same concerns before, and they're still valid now. Approving this rezoning would set a dangerous precedent that our zoning laws could be bent until they break, and that persistence matters more than residents can reason. The land was zoned RA40 for a reason, to protect the people who live here and the land that sustains us. You can't unlevel a hill once it's been scraped flat, and you cannot unpave a field once it's gone to concrete. Once you industrialize an area, that's it, the land does not come back. So I do implore the boards to consider what others have said in holding a moratorium on rezoning issues of this nature.
Sorry, I'm exhausted, so I'm going to be inarticulate here. I have one question and a couple of comments. Is the town obligated to entertain a zoning change when it's, it doesn't meet the criteria for the zoning board?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Given that they've come to the town, are you obligated to entertain that request legally?
Well, everybody receives due process
But that's a zoning issue though, and so it didn't qualify for that. So are you guys obligated to entertain something that falls outside of the zoning board of appeals? I'm just curious because I don't really know how these guys have gotten here.
We put an application in, so they put in an application, so that being such, we will hear their application. They have an application and presentation tonight.
Okay.
So we'll hear what they have to say.
I got it.
We just,
I didn't know if you had to. Do you have to?
well, I think everybody would want to be heard if they put in an application.
Yeah.
Regardless of the situation.
I got
whether be a,
Okay. All right, I guess I'm asking because, this is like the third or fourth meeting I've been to over your project. And, it's the last thing I have time for.
Can you please address the board?
Oh, sure. Well, I did because she...
You need to address the board. This is the floor is to the board. Thank you.
Okay. So she said, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. What is her name?
Just address the board, your concerns.
I am. I'm trying to refer to the right person.
Don't forget you're on the clock as well.
We have a couple more comments.
Okay. So, misinformation, data center was on the brochure. So that's misinformation. This is a zoning issue for me. And I've already said this, Pat Jacobs just said it. We want to feel safe in our communities. We want to know when we buy a home, we're not going to have a data center next door. I'm concerned about hearing about this race card. I have sympathy for that, but not that much. And the reason why is, we've all been subjected to this. Anyone on social media knows, I was called a racist Karen for not paying a white tax on a group purchase. We've all been subjected to this. I think that this community has been amazingly respectful. And I think our voices have been heard, and it's been unanimous. We do not want this here. And if we're gonna be a community and we're gonna be good neighbors, we should be listening to each other. And I don't think these guys are listening to their community. And so, the fact that the race is being brought up, I'm really concerned that they're going a legal route with this. And I just want to say this is the last thing I have time and energy for. I'm not happy about having to deal with this right now. And I'm sure everyone else feels I have my own personal stuff going on, and I just don't need this. But I'll tell you what, if this is the route you're going to go, if they're not going to hear their community, then I will start a legal fund for anybody who wants to join in.
New set of issues.
And we can, you know, we can play that game, unfortunately, if that's what it takes. I hope it doesn't come to this, because our zoning needs to be respected. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the regularly scheduled presentations. At the end of the meeting, if there's anyone else that would like to speak or further to the floor, they'll have that opportunity. If anyone so chooses to leave at any time in the meeting, please understand that this is a town board meeting. Please be respectful of the people speaking, and the rest of the people in the room. They would like to, they're here to hear as well.
Can I say the public hearing for the rezoning at the farmhouse is a little bit further down on the agenda, if you're here for that. Okay, thanks, Brett.
So we have some presentations. We're going to start with Alex Benjamin, Director of the Huntington Memorial Library.
Yeah, do you want me to come?
Oneonta and other vendors.
Would you like me to come up front?
If you'd like, please do.
Okay.
I won't belabor the points that others have made about the
Thank you, everyone. This is a tremendous amount of support for the library, and I appreciate it.
impacted wildlife corridors, both by data centers and agriculture.
Yeah, so my purpose here tonight is to account for the money that the town of Oneonta gives to the library. I'm not here to ask for any more money than we already receive annually. And I'm just going to go through some statistics here. So I represent Huntington Memorial Library. We have 1,272 town residents who hold library cards with us. That's roughly 25% of the population of the town. We receive $50,000 in funding every year from the town. So on a per capita level, that comes out to $9.87 a person. Relative to the city of Oneonta, at the city, we get $42.31 per capita. And just for a little perspective, there's 42 libraries in the 4-county library system. 2 of them don't receive any tax money. But on a scale of the other 40, that would put the town of Oneonta 39 out of 40 in per capita funding. And I just offer that information for perspective. By the numbers, we had roughly 80,000 visitors come into the library last year. We had roughly 60,000 materials circulate, so books, DVDs, sewing machines. We answered 10,395 information requests. Anytime I talk about library stats, I can see everyone's eyes glazing. But for the record, information requests are a variety of things, but if you need help finding a lawyer, that's an information request. If you want to know whether the seats in a deck of cards correspond to the seasons and weeks, that's an information request. Over 100,000 people connected to the internet through us. We had over 146 early literacy programs for children, and we had over 1,700 children in those programs. As far as demonstrating value to the town, I think one of our clearest ways of doing that is as an access point. We provide access to technology, we provide access to information, and we provide access to opportunities. We're one of these few institutions that exist where you can come in and ask any random question, and for no cost, we will genuinely do our best to answer. We help with a lot of tasks that people need support with, job applications, healthcare enrollment, work with government services. We help people apply for permits, that kind of thing. And so the staff assistance that we provide, I think, is doubly valuable in addition to checking out. Yeah, we partner with community organizations to provide support. Every year we work with Hartwick College to provide absolutely free tax filing services for low-income and elderly individuals. We do over 300 of those every year. We support unhoused patrons. I know that's not everyone's favorite topic, but we work with them to try and find them housing, healthcare, all of that. And we continue to try to build partnerships. So moving forward in the future, actually, I would like to try and build more partnerships with the town. I know the library can tend to focus on the city because we're in the middle of there, but we want to represent the town equally. So I would like to have more partnerships with the town itself and town organizations. If you're interested, please let me know. So yeah, just in closing, your investment in the library has a direct, measurable impact on town residents. We help you learn, connect, access resources. And to go a little further, for people who don't live in the town, I think having a library is an indicator of a healthy town and a healthy city. And this shows that the town believes in supporting its residents, supporting their future, supporting their education. So I want to thank you all for your continued support of the library. We appreciate it, and we're here to support you as well. So I don't know if there's any questions anyone wants to ask me, but I'm open to that.
I had a question, you said 11,000 internet connectors, was that individuals or 11,000 connections?
It's 11,000 connections, yes. And that includes our desktop computers in the building, it's not just Wi-Fi. But there is Wi-Fi outside the building too.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Next we have Liz Kramer and Nicholas Weir. They are applying for zoning map, zoning amendment, excuse me. Liz?
Yeah, we're all the way back here. Can I just stay here? Because we're posted up with like.
Yep, absolutely.
So we're just asking for the zone to be changed back to an RA 40 from a PDD. It's not currently being used as a PDD. It was zoned that way because the Plains owned the property, and it's not being used as the senior living development that they had intended, and now it's just a single family home, privately owned, so we would like it rezoned back to an
Well, just so everyone's clear, this has nothing to do with gas stations or data centers.
Liz, are you still seeking the subdivision to, as we discussed?
Potentially, yeah.
Because the reason I ask is because that would have consequence of what the next step would be. Because if you're seeking that, we can do it concurrently, but you would have to get the subdivision from the planning board first. You'd have to go to the planning board, request a subdivision, and then there'd be a public hearing, as we discussed. And because we cannot obviously rezone something that doesn't have a parcel to be rezoned to. So that would be it's a similar situation to what was just happening here with the Emmons Farms. They had to get a subdivision first before we could even really look at the zoning map amendment. So, I mean, that's just critical to know, just tell you which direction we want to send you in.
We were gonna pursue the rezoning and then revisit subdivision at a later time, if that's possible.
It's pretty simple. Potentially. What they're looking to do is they want to do an Airbnb and then live on the city first, because otherwise that's what this is. Is there a formal application? There's a formal application for the zone map amendment. So you understand though, if you were to use the two principal uses that we had discussed, there'd have to be a subdivision.
Yes.
All right. Is there anyone at the board that? Any questions?
Just, you're having the house and then you want to live in the barn, right? Is that right? And you want to rent the house?
Live in the house.
Live in the
rent
house.
Potentially in the future, live in house, rent barn.
Okay, so does it requires a subdivision? It does not.
To live in the house right now wouldn't require anything. You wouldn't require any zone change to live in the house.
We wanna rent the house too. Live in the house, rent the house. Live somewhere else in the summer.
Okay.
Okay. No, we have to refer to the planning board first.
And see an application too. We'll get an application. We have the application, it wasn't in the packet.
So then, if that's the case, I'll make a motion that we refer this to the planning board. Clerk?
Bill Kent.
Yes.
Freddie.
Yes.
Emma.
Yes.
Muller.
Yes. Okay, so you understand, what we're doing here is we refer to the planning board, so they could, let us know if they have any local action or, any issues with that before we set a public hearing, and based on what they said, we could then, the next meeting, set a public hearing, for the following meeting, for the December meeting. Okay? Thank you. Next presentation, Jerusha, Dave with the Eco Yoda, applying for a zoning map amendment application for 357 County Route 9, RA 40 PDD.
Put up the submission, maybe just the site map.
Sure, with the camera, if possible, if you could maybe find your name so the rest of the board can see.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Is this the one you want? Yeah, exactly. And then you can talk. So, good evening, board. My name is TJ Ruane. I'm an attorney for Eco Yoda. This is Prashant Goratala, who spoke earlier, both associated with the company. So as you're aware, this is a revised application. It's not the first time you guys have seen this proposal. The reason for the revised application was originally to address concerns that have been raised by the board and by the general public. So the project scope has changed. The terminology, I think, that's been passed around, was realized by the client to be more incendiary than it was originally intended. So when they talk about data center, there are computer components to what is being proposed, but this is by no means a industrial or commercial data center where a large warehouse has server racks from one end to the other that consumes large amounts of energy or even requires water or produces noise because they're using cooling air to cool the computers. This is an agricultural research project. So the point of it is to answer one question, is how do we lengthen the growing season in New York State? So if you want to go to, right, there's another photo here that kind of explain. So this, one of the things the board asked for is like, how are we going to visualize what you guys are talking about? Because, what we want to do here is answer a lot of these questions so we can address the concerns of, is this going to consume as much energy as the projects people are researching online? Is this going to cause pollution? Is this going to cause noise? So we're here to provide that information, answer those questions, and by no means should the board make a decision until they have that information. So here's essentially what's being proposed. There is several existing structures on the property. The research center is basically going to use computer servers to produce heat that's going to be used to grow on these hydroponic systems and indoor greenhouses. So the computer systems support the growing by monitoring the growth of the plants. And the technology that's been used in growing in agriculture is not new. I mean, combines now have GPS technology. Technology and agriculture have been intertwined for decades. So these computer systems are going to monitor the growth and create conditions that are optimal for growth. The sustainable factor that we were talking about before that was addressed in the opening comments is that this is like an entirely closed loop system. So there's no water being drawn, there's no massive energy use being pulled. The water is a closed loop system, so the computer systems heat the water, that heats the radiant floor, which provides heat for the growing of the plants. So this is pretty much the guts of the operation. So the discussions that we had about, okay, well, what's the business that you're asking to do here? Because to be completely clear, no one needs a town rezoning to put computer servers in their house. I mean, if Prashant wants to put 4 or 5 computer servers in his garage, use that heat to heat his house, he's more than welcome to do so. But what their goal is to enter into contracts with the local universities to provide a space where students can research how can we create, or how do we interact indoor growing in New York State with computer technology. So a lot of the negative comments and the fears around this, we wanted to dispel those fears by providing more information about what this project actually is. So one of the things that came up is, you know, has the project changed because they want to present the smallest possible project, get their foot in the door, and then before we know it, there's a landslide effect. They have momentum and we can't stop them from putting in a 500,000 square foot data center. That's not true, and that's why we're seeking a PDD. So the PDD gives the town board with discretion and flexibility into putting conditions in the PDD as what's permitted and what's not permitted. So there are no new structures permitted with this project. There's no new processing or manufacturing. You know, a lot of people are referring to this as an industrial data center. There's absolutely no industry happening on this property. I think where that stemmed from was originally when Prashant and Tarusha approached the code enforcement officer about, hey, we have this project. The first idea was, well, the industrial district is there. That'll give you the most wiggle room. You could just extend the industrial district. A lot of town board members in public brought up good concerns. Well, what this is now, this farm is now an industrial district. After they leave, anything can be put here. Well, that's why we switched it to asking for a PDD, because it gives the town the ability to control what happens on the property. So, if you want to go back to the site map, please. So this is the property here. This is the existing house, the garage, and one of the barns. There's 2 barns on the property. So the only things that are being proposed to be used for the research center is the garage attached to the house and the barn. So this barn now is used for indoor soccer, essentially. And it's about the size of a soccer field, about 10,000 square feet. While most of the barn is going to be basically grow operations for plants and things that will be sold at farmers markets or wherever, the server space that's required is really small. I mean, you're talking like a few racks of computers. You know, I know there's a lot of fear around AI technology but you know, most of the AI technology that was referenced in the public comments you can use from your iPhone. You don't need a data center to do ChatGPT, and that's not the purpose of these computer servers. So, you know, we provided an updated application, but the purpose of what we want to come before the board is there's still seems to be a lot of public concern. We're here to hear any questions that you have on the application, and we will do our best to provide the information that you guys need to make a decision on the project.
Good question.
Yeah.
So you need to drive information through AI to create heat, right?
Correct.
The radiation, right? So is that technology out there anywhere right now?
Is that technology
out there anywhere? Anybody doing it? Is there any experience with that technology?
Oh, about a setup like this?
Yes.
Yes, there are many areas, many countries are doing that.
So how many servers will it take to do 10,000 square feet of radiant in that barn?
So let me put it in a different way, okay? It's not about the servers. We are not talking about how many servers here. Suppose, I'm just giving an example of here. Suppose this barn takes 300 BTUs per hour heat required to heat the barn in peak winter, right? Convert that into electricity, how much it is needed to use an electric heater to heat the barn. We are sizing the servers in a way, just use the exact amount of utility we need for heating the barn. So that means if I need only 10 servers, I will be using only 10 servers. If I need 20 servers, and it is sized according to the utility we need. We are not going to use more than that, because if I use more, it's going to be a problem, because it's going to generate more heat, and I will have a problem with that. So that's the reason it's just sized as per the need.
Well, I have a problem. I think the garage space would be adequate for a test site. right? You only got a few servers.
Exactly, that is
So why would you need 10,000 square
Okay,
foot?
so when we came here for the first time, right? We said phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 is the garage, as we are mentioning right now. That is where we said we want to use this AI servers and we want to test it there, how much heat it is generating, and we want to use that heat to use it in the house in winter, so that we can use that heat in winter for house. That is where you are mentioning why you need 10,000, right? That's the phase 1 we want to use. That's the reason we made a MOU with SUNY to do that research here. And second phase is the BAM, the hydroponics, along with AI integration. And if you go into a little bit more details, like agriculture department will be involved in it, and the physics department will be involved in it. And then the AI technology for that, cyber security, that there are so many things will be involved in that, right? So everyone will be running that servers, and they will be generating heat. And that heat will be utilized to convert it into hot water. That is, we are using an immersion technology. So everyone here talks about data centers, I understand, but that is an old technology. In old technology, servers were used to cool with HVACs. That uses a lot of water. That's where everyone's saying, oh, it uses a lot of water and noise, heat, everything. But we are not doing that technology. It's an immersion technology. Servers will be in a dielectric liquid, and because of that, there is no noise, no water usage. And we are able to extract as much as heat, maybe 90 to 95% of the heat from servers, convert it into hot water, use radiant flows to heat the facility. So that is where the sustainability comes into picture here.
So
And when
that little test program, set all those servers and all the radiant, to just do a test program, what do you think you're going to have invested in that?
to do just in the garage, maybe 1 million to 2 million.
So, I'm in the building business, right? So heat pumps are really efficient, right? So why wouldn't you use heat pumps to do that? A lot less energy than servers.
Okay, I understand. You are using electricity for heat pumps, right? Same electricity, how much electricity we need to use the heat pump for heating the bath. For example, maybe 50 kW, I'm just throwing a number. To use heat pumps, if it is 50 kW, I'm using AA servers to heat. Because of that, same heat, same electricity I'm using, but I'm getting another benefit by using AA servers, AA technology, where I am going to use that with SUNY for another purposes. So I'm getting two benefits out of one.
I'd really like to see the numbers in black and white myself.
I just want to make sure that we're getting all the questions, so what numbers exactly?
How much energy it's going to take to do, even in that garage, what's that garage, maybe 5,000 square feet?
No, garage is 1,300 square feet.
How much?
1,300.
1,300? So if you start out there with how many servers, I'd like to see some kind of calculation what the energy draw is on that little experiment right there.
Yeah, see that.
I've got a couple of questions. I've got two, and I want to get back to the heat. But my first is, this is the third iteration of that we've seen, and I'm learning a lot from you. That's for sure. My question is, my first question has to do with the relationship with the institutions, both Hartwick and SUNY Oneonta. I have, in all of the applications that have come forward, there has been nothing communicated from either institution that supports what you're trying to do in any of those, and yet it's continually talked about. So if there is something that is formal, I think we need to see and
We can submit
understand.
them to you, or someone from SUNY, representative, can talk about it, because in planning board, already Hartwick made a representation, they spoke about this project.
That should be included in your.
Unfortunately, most of the MOU, minutes of meeting did not reflect our voice. That's the reason we requested to include our points. So that's clarifies your question, right?
Were they discussions or commitments?
Discussions, and we already have a MOU. No.
It's significantly different than a discussion.
No, we have MOU with SUNY already. We do have.
Sure, we can submit documentation memorializing that we have agreements with.
Yeah, the representative of SUNY sitting right here.
So I'm gonna read a statement, that was, from the president. So as a town. Sorry.
While they're doing a presentation,
I can do it at the end if you'd like.
yes, please, I'm sorry.
I mean, we could call it as part of the presentation.
And I don't want to interrupt your presentation.
Oh, no,
If
that's
you're
fine.
okay with that.
We will be happy to have.
Well, I still have more questions, so.
We can wait the floor.
Yeah, why don't you finish, since you started, thank you, and then if
Sorry, I
you,
didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay.
if you would allow Carol to speak.
Yeah, of course.
We would allow as well, thank you. I'm sorry.
So continuing on the questions having to do with the two institutions in town, who would be overseeing this research? Is there a faculty tie to this? Is there a tenure line?
So we are in discussions in detail with each department. That's where so with the team, Tracy, we are going to have more in detail discussions like which department will be doing which particular. Suppose if it is agriculture, right? We even want to have involved SUNY, Scopo skill. So that is more agriculture, right? So we want to bring in more who are experts in this area. So that's where discussions are still going on, who exactly person will be leading that particular area.
Okay. All right, so then I'd like to go back, if we could, to understanding the heat and the heat source. How much do you estimate, and I know I understand we're at phase 1, phase 2 and all of that, but in a perfect world, what would be your estimate for your weight of produce that you would produce off of the farm?
So I cannot give you a ballpark number. The reason is, it is mix of everything, right? For example, if you are looking at lettuce, spinach, or green leaf vegetable, their produce weight is different from tomatoes, eggplants, and we produce. So you cannot just give a ballpark how many LBs you are going to produce, because every produce has its own weight and it has its own price tag to it. So you may come up and ask, what experience you have in this agriculture, right? I myself started doing agriculture since 4 years to learn more about it, and same set exactly I'm already replicating in Southwest. And we already spoke to board there, and we also have approval. We are in the process of getting documentation done there. It's exactly same, everything same what we are doing. And coming back to your question, how many LBs? This is a research, right? For example, to give you an example, if lettuce is growing at 60 or 65 degrees centigrade, and the research will be like at 70 what happens, at 75 degrees what happens, what is the particular variety we grow good, when it is optimized temperature. If it is tomatoes or eggplants or any other different vegetables, at what temperature optimal for these particular vegetables, so that we can have the sustainable 365 days fresh crop growing here.
Okay, I understand that. I do understand that. I'm trying to put together a better understanding of what the numbers mean. On page 16, it's estimated that there would be a use of 3 million kilowatts per year that would be used. But when I do research, and is this vertical farming?
Yes,
or?
it's about
okay. So when I try to figure that out, it looks like there are 2.45 kilowatts per pound of produce. So at 3 million kilowatts per year, you're looking at 600 to 700 tons of produce, and that doesn't add up for me.
So you have to look at like this. The 10,000 square foot is not just going to be used for hydroponics, right? It will be divided into office space. It will be divided into little bit research area for like the students when students come, and there will be prep area also. This is not like we are just doing 10,000 square foot just hydroponics. There will be space allocated for everything in this.
When I look at your picture, there's a lot of farming and very little prep and.
These are not just to give an example of idea what you're doing, but that is not exactly what you're doing.
I understand. All right, that helps. That
We
helps.
can do like an aerial of the barn and kind of show an estimate of where we think things will lay out, and just, if that helps.
Well, I think the question is 3 million kilowatts of
kilowatt
hours per year
Yeah.
equates to 600 to 700 tons of produce.
Well,
So
I would like to know the calculation what you are doing, because
I can send you the link of the articles that I.
Because it doesn't make any difference, it's not sounding good for me, like what you're saying.
Yeah,
I would like to see the calculation.
I will be happy to do that.
And is the concern that that's a lot of
Yes.
produce?
So, no, the concern for me is that is an enormous amount of produce, so we can feed all of Oswego County and that would be wonderful. My concern is more that I still don't understand the heating. So are you heating and then in the summer it would be cooling?
Yes.
Based off of servers
Yes.
only?
Yeah, so we
No
are going,
furnace?
yes.
No heat source?
So there is another technology, absorption chill, right? So these chillers will be feeding off heat, not electricity. So the heat produced by the AA server, that will be feeding this absorption chiller to produce cold water, and that cold water will be getting converted into air. So that is the technology we are using. So we are not using the electricity here. We're still using the heat.
What's powering the computer? Electricity. This is wild. This is crazy.
Ma'am, sorry.
Sorry, but
Presentation.
come on.
So the electricity we are talking about here is, think about like this, barn is there, you are going to use fossil fuels to heat the barn, right? Now in normal condition. But I'm removing that fossil fuel and I'm putting in electric heater. And instead of a regular heat pump, I'm replacing it with ASL, but I'm not changing the electricity, how much I'm going to use. I'm using the same sizing for that. If it is, suppose, just giving an example number, 50 kW, I'm just sizing my server to 50 kW. I'm not using more than that.
So I think the point is that the amount, like the question was how many servers or how many server racks or how much electricity, it's size driven off of the research and the growing, not run the servers full speed and then use heat to grow stuff on the side because it's just a wasted energy being produced by the servers. Their purpose is to only serve the research.
So how is it cooled in the summer?
That's
Through
right.
the heat, so through an absorption chiller.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
So where's the return on the investment?
So that is what I'm going to explain. So now, the problem statement here, right? 365 days production, right, with hydroponics. There's a cost to it. Operating expenses are very high if you're going to use fossil fuel to heat the facility in winter. So that's where I'm bringing AI servers, which is waste heat is used here and used to heat the facility. So the cost for using the fossil fuel is zero here in this case. And now at the same time, I'm not using any HVAC or anything to cool the servers here. Because of the immersion technology, I'm using that waste here. So my cost for cooling the servers is zero here. So when I'm combining these two, my cost is zero here and zero. When I'm combining that, that is where the return on investment will be quicker. Suppose if it is taking 7 to 8 years of return on investment for hydroponics, because we are combining with no cost, then it will be much better, 2 or 3 years or 3 to 4, depending upon the size. So that is where the model we are coming with. AI can help in a sustainable way if we use it properly in a right direction, and it will be helpful for farmers, small scale farmers. For example, if a small farmer has a small barn, we can guide them, hey, this much energy you need to heat this barn, and if you are interested in using this hydroponic, use this instead of electricity, like, generate your own electricity by putting a solar array, say that 50K for example, or 100K. If they have space, they want to do it, they will generate their own power. There is no stress on grid. So they will be able to generate that heat, that electricity, and the electricity used for AI servers and then the hydroponic. So it's sort of like, sustainable, like, we are not wasting energy anywhere, and it is not stressing the grid also. And suppose if you are talking about a big, large data center, right? If it is 100 megawatts or 500 megawatts, 1 gigawatt, there is a stress on the grid. Yes, I agree that. But what we are creating, we are trying to put it in everywhere, distributing that stress, and they are generating that power themselves. That is going to be like sustainable process, and that's where the ROI comes into picture.
And then just one last question, are there generators involved in these servers?
So there are small modulators, we don't have to go and use fossil fuels anymore. There are small modulators available with technology where they will generate electricity as required, So that, if it is peak, and they will generate it for you, that there is no noise, like they will just put a small module inside, it will generate. So that will be used as a backup, or it can be the main source, and main electricity can be second source, however you want to use it.
Okay, so it's self-enclosed.
Yeah, it's all.
So you're saying battery storage systems?
So that's what, see, battery storage is as a secondary, right? Like when power outage is there, then you will go for batteries, right? But here, if there is a small module, then you don't even need batteries. So because, your module is there, and when electricity, two sources of electricity already you have. If you want to go for third, then you go for wind generation with the fossil fuel or whatever the means.
Do you have calculations of the one thing I think that we're all struggling with, we don't know how many servers you're really talking about. So then we don't know what size battery storage you would require, because there are different requirements once you hit different thresholds in terms of firefighting requirements, because we're a volunteer firefighter department here. And do they have the proper equipment? Well, you might be able to answer that question. For who does, I'm sorry?
Nobody does.
Okay, so to put out such a
and when we are starting the project, right, we are not bypassing anyone. Like we want to do, see, when I'm involved in Sony, Oneonta, they have credibility, right? And I have to follow the standards. And we are going to involve all the departments, and we are going to provide the numbers. And this is what the energy usage we are having. And it is not like, I'm hiding anything. Sony will provide it to everyone, obviously, right? So I don't have nothing to hide here.
We just want to know, what the scale of the project is. I mean, you can say the garage, but we don't know how many servers are going to go in there. So you can say the barn.
So that's fair. So phase one is the garage, right? We said 50 kW. That's where we came up with 50 kW, and we want to put a solar so that it is not stressing the grid also. That's what the first initial we came with the idea. And then phase two is we want to do PPAs, and if anyone already has solar, we are going to do PPAs with them. Or if anyone is interested in doing solar as a investor in this, then we are going to purchase power from them, and we will help them to have solar. So it's we are not just stressing the grid here. We are actually encouraging everyone, and we are going to share this technology with local farmers. That is the main intention here.
Did you have more questions, Joe? I was going to. Any more questions?
Sure, please.
Okay. I do have. I've read the proposal. I do have clear concerns and questions about the proposal. And all of you are in attendance to tonight that are here on this subject. You can foil the town through the town clerk's office if you want to see the proposal, because I know a lot of people don't know all of the information and you're concerned, and you can see, you can obtain that through the clerk's office through a FOIL. The proposal on page 12 references the town's 2014 comprehensive plan. Agribusiness was not and still is not defined, nor is it a use listed in our zoning code, agribusiness. Therefore, it's not a permitted use. Our zoning code isn't updated to even review a proposal like this. It is an AI research facility with data center component to control the greenhouses. The proposal is manufacturing the use of the term agribusiness, like I said, so it doesn't exist in our code. This PDD would allow a data center down the line. This would also be opening the door for that. At last month's board meeting, Mr. Rivera offered a draft of a zoning amendment to regulate data centers for the board's consideration. This proposed project is a 153-acre development proposal with intense agricultural use. It's a substantial development proposal. The questions are, we don't know how that you're going to pay for it. No mention of a timeline, schedule, is financing in place, future expansion, and this would fundamentally change the neighborhood. I'm trying to get a better sense of your project. How would the existing water well serve as an adequate water supply? I guess your EF says it's not, it would not have an impact. The letter you sent, and I don't know your last name, the attorney,
It's Ruane.
Ruane?
Ruane.
Rudy, hey, excuse me, okay, thanks. The letter you sent to the code office requested information on the use of that property for agribusiness constitute, and you wanted clarification on a home occupation?
Yeah.
Okay, so a home occupation in our town code is for one person, such as a hairdresser, and multiple employees, plural, are not permitted under a home occupation.
That's correct.
Yes,
It says
okay.
that in the letter.
Okay, so I feel that the town board, I would like to see that we can entertain a moratorium on this kind of related infrastructure, AI related infrastructure, until we can update our zoning code and our comprehensive plan. I'd like to, hopefully we can talk about it. Due to the lack of the information, I think we're finding there's just more questions than answers. And no disrespect, it's just, we've heard from your first visit, it was a very intensive AI data center, and now, the modifications, and plus the terminology of agribusiness, the home occupation, there's just things I think we need to update our zoning code, do a comprehensive plan. And I feel like this justifies the request that I'm making. So that's what I'd like to bring up. Will the board can entertain considering a moratorium on AI data center related activities in the town until we can get caught up?
Just discuss the process that would have to go through. Formally, because it's not just saying let's do it.
Right, but this is just, we're operating decades ago, and right now, we're in the future, and here we are.
Yeah, so the moratorium is a proposed local law, so we would have to have a draft presented to the board, and then that would be referred to county planning, and we'd have a public hearing on the proposal. So that would be the procedural.
So in order to initiate that process, if we could we consider, would the board consider that entertain a moratorium to move forward with exploring that, and doing that and exploring it?
I would consider that. I think it behooves the town to slow down and better understand what is happening. I'm not sure if this proposal in front of us is data center related or not. So is it two separate things? But I am very concerned about data center and what that might mean, and I would be in support of entertaining at least a slowdown. I don't know what this means for this proposal in front of us, because this is agribusiness.
It doesn't exist.
But again, to me, it's a data center and agribusiness should not be connected into one moratorium. That's
correct, but we also need to update the zoning code because that word's not in there. You can search our E-code, hyphen or no hyphen, it's not in there. Correct.
Yeah,
It's
no,
a not,
I
so therefore it's a prohibited use.
I don't disagree.
So, that's exactly why we're here. I mean, there's no sort of, you guys have to decide on this tonight like you're under an hour to figure this out. I understand that there's a lot of fear behind this. I mean, data centers at the size that people are talking about in the public comments do have negative impacts. What we're trying to explain is that that's not what's being proposed here, and you have the ability to make sure that that's not what's being proposed here. So one comment was, which is completely founded, concern is, well, okay, so we enact like PDD, and then these guys, the research goes great, now other universities reach out, now they have this opportunity to build a whole new structure. I mean, the PDD can have conditions in it that can sort of curtail what's being permitted there, so you have that control. Obviously, you can seek advice from your council as to the scope of that, but I would ask you to do that before sort of dismissing the concept completely out of fear that this is going to expand into something that you don't want. We're here to answer the questions, and I know we repeatedly are getting comments that we don't really understand, we have follow-up questions. We're here to hear those questions and provide you guys with that information the best we can. If I know a lot of the discussion is highly technical and it's kind of hard to understand, but we're gonna do our best to try to get you guys that information.
And one more technical point I want to present it here is, when we are talking about data centers, right? Everyone says data center, data center. Anyone can say what is considered a data center here, how many megawatts we are talking about. Are we talking about 100 megawatts or 500 megawatts? How much capacity data center we are talking about?
So to give you an idea, it's an important point is, so obviously Prashant, in doing his diligence in this project, reached out to NICEAG, was in communication with them, got a written response that says, based on the transmission lines in this area, you couldn't use anything more than a megawatt. If you were proposing something like 3 and 4, there would have to be substantial investment to upgrade that, and I would imagine millions and millions and millions of dollars, maybe a new substation or something like that. What he's proposing is not even half of what they're saying will not affect the grid. So just for scale, trying to just kind of conceptualize that, because I think that's an important point that's kind of getting, because these data centers that are using a gigawatt of electricity is a massive amount of electricity. There's no question about that. And we're not saying that those data centers or the research that anybody did in this town is slanted or misrepresented or anything. We're just saying that this is not what that is. It's not the same thing.
Except that the door is open, and we do not have a definition, and we do not understand what the impact of the word data center means. And I understand that, I mean, yeah, I could put servers in my house, nobody here would have any idea that I have
But
that.
the PDD will give you the flexibility to, you can describe our project in whatever term you want. You can either say, the PDD will allow a data center, the PDD will allow an agricultural research. You can list in specifics what it cannot mean. And that's why we're seeking the PDD. I think that had we extended the industrial district, all the permitted uses under the industrial district would now be permitted on that site, which is why we changed it, because that was the main concern. And I told Prashant, is there anything being proposed outside of what you're doing? No, okay, then let's just go for PDD. That'll give the town board the flexibility and the tools to put the limits on this to make you guys comfortable that you're doing what's in the best interest of the community.
But again, we've opened Pandora's box, and probably a few months too late.
So
I'm not sure.
we are just combining two different animals here. We are not comparing apples to apples here. We are saying data centers one side. We keep calling them data centers, which has a completely different terminology and has a definition, fears with that. We are talking about agribusiness that is completely hydroponics, which is agriculture related. And the AI servers which we are talking about is sized to use as a utility for heating the building. So it comes exactly under agriculture. We are not using anything more than what is needed to heat the buildings. So that's where exactly the PDD comes into picture, to scale and say, hey, you cannot use anything more than what is required here. So we are not calling it as a data center. We are calling it as a utility which is used for agriculture.
I think the concern is, if we give you an inch, you might take a foot, and then fight like hell to get, keep it. So I think that's everybody's concern. And because we don't fully understand the agribusiness that you're proposing, I think we need to kind of take some time and really, I don't know if the word would be soul search, figure out what exactly this is before we can give you any answers.
Yeah, I understand that.
Even if we wanted to entertain a moratorium, we're not sure what we'd be putting a moratorium on, to be completely honest with you. If it was a data center, then you could say it's an agribusiness. It's agribusiness, say it's a data center, so.
Why not AI research facility or AI?
Well, Trish, I think we need to really just take some time.
How would you do that? How would you do that? You wouldn't go with a moratorium?
What are we putting a moratorium on, is the question. And that's why we need a little time to think about what we're actually talking about here. I think there's more questions than answers right now.
Correct, there are no questions.
Right, I'd like to get more, the questions that we asked, I'd like to have more information, and still have the conversation.
And we welcome these questions. Do you guys want to maybe put them together in a letter, like we would do with any other type of development before the planning board? We can answer and provide that information. That's what we're here for.
It might even require a special meeting, to be completely honest with you, because, you know, obviously we're trying to squeeze this in the middle of a regular scheduled town board meeting, and there are other issues of business that are pressing as well. So I think we need time to start coming up with questions, and do some of our own research, speak with other community members and things of that nature. I guess they would call it deep dive, we need to do ourselves.
We do our due diligence and take a hard look at it.
I feel like that's all we've been looking at is articles we've been receiving, and we've been doing that research. 3 gigawatts of hours is, could power 400 homes. So that's in your EAF, but.
No, 300 kilowatt hours.
Hours, that is hours, that is not
200. Gigawatt, 3 gigawatt hours, 3GH.
Not a gigawatt hour. Like I have only 1 megawatt power. How is that?
Okay, I'll review the EF. I apologize if that's my mistake on the
I
number.
think it might have said, and it could be sloppy handwriting, it might have said 300 kilowatt hours, maybe, is that possible?
Yeah.
I can give you the
It's
calculation
not-
of everything. That's not a
I
problem.
said, already said anything, you wouldn't be able to do anything above a megawatt.
Okay.
And we're well below that.
Need to
On
look at
page
that.
16, it says 3 million kilowatts per year.
Kilowatt hours.
3 million kilowatt hours per year.
Hours. So that is how you measure the electricity, right? How much? So that's where you will be. It's not like kilowatts you are using. It's not 3 megawatt kilowatts you are using. It's the hours actually, and how much electricity you are using. That's a unit. So if you want, I can give you more information.
You can address that in writing, because it is, I see what your concern is, because 3 million converts to 3, it is not 3 megawatts. I assure you, that's time over the entire year, not usage in one day, instantaneous usage.
I just don't see the return on investment. I mean, if that's the case,
I mean, farms fail all the time.
I know, but New York State is pushing everybody to electric heat, right?
Yes.
By next year, you build a new house, you can't even have a gas stove.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen to it. So if that's so efficient, right, everybody put a server in their house and take care of their heat that way.
Yes.
You know, they're not gonna do it. At 1.2 million, tell me where your investment return.
Okay, I will give you in a different perspective, okay? So in our traditional farming, right, we used to have a lot of water in the ground, we used to use that, but we came to drip irrigation. So we started using drip irrigation, we removed waste, what is happening with the water. New technology came up, and at that, initially no one believed it and how cost effective it will be, how many advantages along with that. But slowly, like everyone understood, and they started utilizing that drip irrigation. So same way, this is like, because not many understands the advantages, and this is the evolving technology. That's the reason we are not saying we are going to implement it, this is exact how way. We are saying it is a research and development so that we can make it available for everyone, this technology. That is the main intent here.
And so, I see your concern with the cost of the build out just to heat a home. It seems ridiculous, but the purpose is research. So research is almost always just same cost. So people are going to invest grant money, universities are going to invest in this so that we can provide them the space to do the research. So
you're gonna charge.
When you say charge, like what exactly?
Charge them. Are you gonna?
So we are going to have internships and fee.
Are you gonna charge the universities?
So we haven't spoken in full details, like what exactly the money-wise. We came up with the concept, and this is what we are going to do. So it all evolving discussions, yeah.
Kim and I are willing, Hyde, to do a moratorium if we don't have a third board member. I mean, is there a way to term this language of a moratorium that we could all agree on? Is there a terminology, data center, AI?
Well, I want to be careful about, I want to be very careful. I am against data centers. I am against a data center. I am not exactly sure what the heck this is.
So
Tricia.
It's a big deal.
Like I said, we need to take time to do this right. We can't just rush into I mean, I know the audience would love to hear the word moratorium, and we did a round of applause, but just because we're not doing it today doesn't mean we can't do it in the future. What we need to be is thoughtful about it in every aspect. We need to know what we're talking about when we say that. I think we know what we're talking about right now, whether it be agribusiness, data center, research and development, agribusiness, you know, all these things are, right now, we just don't know. So if we're just doing something to make haste and get a good round of applause quickly, that's not what we're here for. We're here to be thoughtful and pensive about what we're doing and understand what they want to do.
And ask questions. Again, you know, we beg the board, if you have concerns, just ask the questions.
Well, and final closing on my part, it is a rezone and a data center could come there in the future or any other kind of use that's more unsuited to the RA40 district that it's in.
And you can prevent that in establishing the PDD, which is why we're not extending the industrial district. So it's not out of your control. You can set it so that no matter what happens, we can have to come back to you for permission to expand. I mean, that's the purpose of asking for the PDD. And that's, you know, we're being very open about that. I know there's a lot of concern with that.
And we are open
Rightfully
for
so.
questions.
Yeah. So, Carol, you had something before that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I can read a statement related to the MOU. You know, as the town board works with the owners in Toyota to determine the compatibility between its business vision and community needs, the university has been asked about its MOU related to this project. I'm here to read the following statement to offer clarity on the agreement between SUNY Oneonta and Toyota. As many in this room have experienced, SUNY Oneonta is committed to building a community beyond our campus. One of the hallmarks of President Carday's administration is the development of the Regional Innovation Council to provide a space for higher education, healthcare, business, human service, and public officials to connect and support community and economic development opportunities. In the spirit of supporting economic investment and workforce development in the Oneonta area, we have welcomed the opportunity to engage Toyota in ways to collaborate should this project proceed. While in the early stages, the MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, maps out how the addition of new technology companies in our community could provide our students with research, internship, and workforce opportunities. To be clear, while the university is eager to support the next generation of innovation and entrepreneurs in our community, we are not involved in the site selection, capital construction, property development, or zoning-related aspects. This type of collaboration reflects the university's dedication to strengthening academic programs, opening new career pathways for students, and promoting innovation to benefit both the campus and the broader community. And Ryan, I can provide that to you in writing. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn this presentation or table this presentation so the board can do some fact finding and gather information and provide you questions as well. And if necessary, we will schedule an additional special meeting, which will be publicized both in the Daily Star and on the town website, as well as the town Facebook page for those of you that, so everybody here can attend or has the opportunity to attend, should we have another meeting, a special meeting to discuss this.
I'll second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Yeah, I would prefer a moratorium, but I'll vote yes.
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 All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one last thing, I meant to mention in the presentation, but the applicant, invites the entire board out to the property, to get some sort of site-specific. I toured it today, it definitely puts like a lot of things in perspective. I think it would be helpful just to see sort of scale-wise about, the layout of the barn, the offices, and how the servers and all that. It's really enlightening, so I can communicate through council, we can just offer it up, you guys are thinking about it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Brett, your motion was only to adjourn the discussion for now, correct? That was the only, okay, thanks.
Okay, we're gonna move on. We have a public hearing, an open public hearing for a zoning map amendment for Marty